So today I want to discuss something that I think is the most important story of our lifetime. And I do not say that lightly. Everyone is watching the bombs. Everyone is watching the missiles. Everyone is asking, will Iran survive? Will America win? Will Israel be safe? These are important questions. We have discussed them. But today I want to ask you a question that is far more important than any of those. And the question is this: what happens to your money? Not tomorrow, not next week, but what happens to the value of every single dollar in every single bank account, in every single wallet, in every single retirement fund in America when this war is over? Because here is what nobody is telling you. This war between America and Iran is not really a war about nuclear weapons. It is not really a war about oil. It is not really a war about Israel. This war is a war about the future of money itself. And the country that wins the money war wins everything. Everything. So let me walk you through this very carefully. First, I'm going to explain how the dollar became the most powerful weapon in human history, not the most powerful currency, the most powerful weapon. Second, I am going to show you exactly how this war is destroying that weapon in real time. Third, I am going to show you what is replacing it. And fourth, I'm going to show you why this has happened before in history and why the outcome is already decided. Okay, let us begin. First, I need you to understand something about the US dollar that most people do not understand. Most people think the dollar is just money. You use it to buy things. It is a piece of paper. It is a number on a screen. That is what most people think. But that is not what the dollar is. The dollar is the most sophisticated system of global control ever invented by any civilization in human history. Let me say that again. The dollar is not money. The dollar is a system of control. And once you understand this, everything about this war makes sense. So, how did this happen? How did a piece of paper printed by the US Treasury become the most powerful weapon on Earth? The answer goes back to 1944. World War II was ending. The Allied powers met at a place called Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, and they made a deal. The deal was this: the US dollar would be the global reserve currency. Every other currency in the world would be pegged to the dollar, and the dollar would be backed by gold. America had the gold. America had the largest economy. America had won the war. It made sense. Every country in the world agreed. The dollar became the center of the global financial system. Now, this worked beautifully for America for about 27 years, but then something happened. In 1971, President Richard Nixon did something extraordinary. He took the dollar off the gold standard. He said, the dollar is no longer backed by gold. The dollar is backed by nothing. Just trust. Just the full faith and credit of the United States government. Now, you might think, okay, so the dollar is backed by nothing. Why didn't countries just stop using it? Why didn't the whole system collapse? And that is where the genius comes in. Because 2 years later, in 1973, the Nixon administration made a secret deal with Saudi Arabia, and this deal changed the world. The deal was simple. Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer, would sell all of its oil exclusively in US dollars. Not in Saudi riyals, not in British pounds, not in gold, only dollars. In exchange, America would provide military protection to the Saudi royal family. America would guarantee the survival of the House of Saud. And just like that, the petrodollar was born. Now, let me explain why this was so brilliant and so devastating. Because every country in the world needs oil, right? Japan needs oil, Germany needs oil, India needs oil, China needs oil. Every factory, every car, every power plant runs on oil. And if oil can only be bought with dollars, then every country in the world needs dollars. So what does every country do? Every country must earn dollars through trade or buy dollars on the foreign exchange market. Every country must hold large reserves of dollars. Every central bank in the world holds US dollars. And what do they do with those dollars? They buy US Treasury bonds. They lend their money back to America. Do you see it? Do you see the machine? America prints dollars. The world is forced to use those dollars to buy oil. The world sends those dollars back to America by buying Treasury bonds. America takes that money and spends it on its military. And that military guarantees that oil continues to be sold in dollars. It is a perfect circle. A perpetual motion machine of global financial dominance. The dollar is not backed by gold. The dollar is backed by oil. And oil is backed by the American military. And the American military is funded by the dollar. This is the petrodollar system. This is the real source of American power, not the aircraft carriers, not the nuclear weapons, not the F-35S. The dollar. The dollar is the weapon. Everything else is just the enforcement mechanism. Now, I want you to hold that thought, hold it carefully, because now I am going to show you how this war is destroying that machine, piece by piece, in real time. Okay, so now let us talk about what is happening right now. Right now, today, as we speak, Iran has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I have talked about this before, but let me explain again why this matters so much for the dollar specifically. The Strait of Hormuz carries 20% of all the world's oil. Roughly 21 million barrels per day pass through this tiny waterway, 75% of Japan's oil, 60% of China's oil, 40% of Europe's oil. It all comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran is now demonstrating to the entire world that it, not America, controls this waterway. Every day, every single day that Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, the petrodollar system takes another blow. Why? Because the petrodollar system is built on a promise. America promises the world, use our dollars and we will keep the oil flowing. We will protect the sea lanes. We will guarantee the global energy supply. That is the promise. That is the deal. But look at what is happening. America cannot keep the oil flowing. The Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, $13 billion, had to retreat from the Persian Gulf. American ships are being targeted. Oil tankers are being disrupted. Insurance rates for ships passing through the strait have gone up 400%, 400%. And the world is watching. Every finance minister, every central bank governor, every sovereign wealth fund manager, they are all watching, and they are all asking the same question. If America cannot protect the oil supply, why are we holding dollars? That question, that one question, is worth more than every bomb Iran has ever launched. Because when countries stop trusting the dollar, the entire machine breaks down. And it is already breaking down. Let me show you the evidence. So, what is replacing the dollar? This is where it gets really interesting, because the replacement is not coming from one direction. It is coming from everywhere simultaneously. The first replacement is the Chinese yuan. China has been working on this for over a decade, quietly, patiently, step by step. In December 2020, China made a historic deal with Saudi Arabia to buy oil in yuan, not dollars, yuan. Do you understand what that means? The very country that created the petrodollar system, Saudi Arabia, is now selling oil in Chinese currency. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. This happened, and it is accelerating. In 2023, China and Brazil agreed to settle trade in yuan. China and Russia now trade almost entirely in yuan and rubles. No dollars. China and Iran. China and Iran trade exclusively in yuan. $0. Now, some people say, Professor Jiang, the yuan cannot replace the dollar. China has capital controls. The yuan is not freely convertible. The Chinese financial system is not open enough. And you know what? That is a fair point. In 2020, that was a very strong argument. But here is what has changed. This war has changed the calculation entirely because countries are now asking a new question. The old question was, is the yuan as convenient as the dollar? And the answer was no. The yuan is less convenient. But the new question is the yuan safer than the dollar? And that is a very different question. Because America has shown the world what it does with the dollar. America weaponized the dollar against Russia. It froze $300 billion in Russian central bank reserves. $300 billion frozen, seized, gone, just like that. Now, every country in the world saw that. Every country. And every country thought the same thing. If America can freeze Russia's money today, it can freeze my money tomorrow. My reserves are not safe in dollars. My country's wealth is not safe in an American bank. This is the most important psychological shift in global finance since 1944. The dollar was supposed to be the safest asset in the world, the place where every country stored its wealth, and America itself proved that it is not safe. America proved that the dollar is a weapon that can be turned against you at any moment, for any reason, without warning. And so countries are moving, not fast, not dramatically, but steadily, quietly, irreversibly. They are moving out of dollars and into alternatives. Now, the second replacement, and this one nobody is talking about, gold. Central banks around the world are buying gold at the fastest rate in 50 years. In 2023, central banks bought over 1,000 metric tons of gold. In 2024, they bought even more. And in 2025, the numbers accelerated again. China alone has been buying gold every single month for over 18 consecutive months. Why? Because gold cannot be frozen. Gold cannot be sanctioned. Gold cannot be printed by a foreign government. Gold is the original money. It has been money for 5,000 years. And when the world loses trust in paper currencies backed by nothing, it goes back to gold. Every time, throughout all of history. And here is the key insight. The gold buying is not random. It is coordinated. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus the new members, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, UAE, these countries are all buying gold simultaneously. They are building gold reserves as the foundation for a new financial system. At the BRICS summit in Kazan in 2024, there were serious discussions about a new BRICS currency, not the yuan, not the ruble, a new currency, backed by a basket of commodities including gold, oil, and other resources. A currency that no single country controls. A currency that cannot be weaponized. Now, is this currency ready today? No, it is not ready today. But here is what matters. The direction is clear. The momentum is clear. And this war is accelerating the timeline dramatically. Now, let me give you the third replacement. And this is the one that I find most fascinating from a strategic perspective. Bilateral currency agreements, direct trade between countries in their own currencies, bypassing the dollar entirely. India and Russia are now trading oil in rupees and rubles. India and the UAE are trading in rupees and dirhams. China and Saudi Arabia in yuan and rials. China and Brazil in yuan and reais. Russia and Iran in rubles and rials. Each one of these agreements is a small crack in the dollar system. Individually, none of them replaces the dollar, but collectively, they are building a parallel financial infrastructure that does not need the dollar at all. And this is the key point that I want you to understand. The dollar is not going to be replaced by one currency. The dollar is going to be replaced by a system, a decentralized system where countries trade directly with each other in their own currencies, where gold provides the trust anchor, where the yuan serves as the primary alternative for large transactions, and where the dollar becomes just another currency. Important? Yes. Dominant? No. This is the transition. This is what is happening. And this war is the accelerant. Now, I promised you history, and I always deliver on my promises, because I want to show you that this has happened before, this exact pattern. And it is very important that you see the pattern, because once you see it, you understand that the outcome is inevitable. The first example, the Spanish silver dollar. In the 16th and 17th centuries, Spain controlled the world's silver supply from mines in Peru and Mexico. Spanish silver coins became the global reserve currency. Every country in the world used Spanish silver dollars for international trade. Spain was the richest, most powerful empire on earth. And what did Spain do with this incredible privilege? Spain spent it on wars. Endless wars. Wars in the Netherlands. Wars in France. Wars in England. Wars against the Ottoman Empire. Spain fought everyone, everywhere, all the time. And each war cost more silver. And each war made Spain's enemies more determined to find alternatives to Spanish silver. And eventually, they did. The Dutch guilder replaced the Spanish dollar. And Spain collapsed from the richest empire in the world to a second-rate power within one generation. One generation. The parallel to America today is almost too perfect. America has the global reserve currency. America is spending it on wars. And the world is looking for alternatives. History is rhyming so loudly right now that it is almost deafening. The second example, the British pound. Before the dollar, the British pound sterling was the world's reserve currency. From roughly 1815 to 1944, the pound dominated global trade. The British Empire controlled the sea lanes, controlled global trade, and the pound was king. And then, World War I and World War II. Britain fought two devastating wars in 30 years. It spent its treasury, it borrowed enormously, it exhausted its military, and by 1944, the pound was finished as the global reserve currency. The dollar replaced it at Bretton Woods. But here is the part that nobody tells you. The transition did not happen overnight. It took about 30 years. From 1914, when Britain started spending on World War I, to 1944, when the dollar officially took over. 30 years of slow decline. 30 years of the world gradually losing faith in the pound. 30 years of alternatives being built. We are in the middle of that process right now with the dollar. The process started arguably in 2001 when America began its endless wars in the Middle East. It accelerated in 2022 when America froze Russian reserves. And this war, this Iran war, is the critical acceleration point. We are maybe 10 to 15 years into a 30-year transition. So the dollar will not collapse tomorrow. Let me be clear about that. I'm not saying the dollar collapses next week or next month, but the direction is absolutely clear, and the speed of that transition just increased dramatically because of this war. Now, let me bring all of this together, because I want you to see the complete picture. America built the most powerful financial system in human history, the petrodollar, and it worked beautifully for 50 years. But then America made a series of catastrophic mistakes. Mistake 1. It weaponized the dollar. When you use your currency as a weapon, you tell the world that holding your currency is dangerous. You destroy the very trust that makes your currency valuable. Mistake 2. It fought endless wars. Every war costs trillions. Every war weakens the American economy. Every war makes countries question whether America can sustain its commitments. Mistake 3. It printed too much money. America's national debt is over $36 trillion. Its annual deficit is enormous. It is printing money to pay interest on money it already printed. This is not sustainable. Everyone knows this. And when the world knows that a currency is being printed into oblivion, the world finds alternatives. Mistake 4. And this is the most important. It started this war with Iran. Because this war is doing something that no previous American war has done. This war is directly threatening the physical infrastructure of the petrodollar system. The Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, these are the pillars of the petrodollar. These countries recycle hundreds of billions of petrodollars into American treasury bonds and American markets every year. And right now, these countries are terrified. Their desalination plants, which provide 60% of their fresh water, are vulnerable to Iranian drones that cost $50,000 each. Their food supplies, 90% imported through the Strait of Hormuz, are at risk. Their physical survival is in question. And a country that is worried about its survival does not care about recycling petrodollars. A country that might run out of water in 2 weeks does not care about buying American treasury bonds. A country that is watching American aircraft carriers retreat from the Persian Gulf does not believe that America can protect it. This is the beginning of the end of the petrodollar. Not the dramatic end, not a sudden collapse, but the slow, steady, irreversible unwinding of the system that has given America its power for 50 years. So, what comes next? Let me give you my framework for understanding the future. We are moving from a unipolar monetary system, one currency rules everything, to a multipolar monetary system, several currencies share power. The dollar will still be important, but it will no longer be dominant. The yuan will rise. Gold will return as a trust anchor. Regional currencies will gain importance. Digital currencies, including central bank digital currencies, will play a role. And the country that manages this transition best, the country that positions itself at the center of the new system, wins the 21st century. That country is China. Not because China is perfect. China has enormous problems. Its real estate market is troubled. Its population is aging. Its economy is slowing. But China has something America does not have. China has a plan. China has the Belt and Road Initiative connecting 140 countries. China has currency swap agreements with over 40 central banks. China has the digital yuan, the most advanced central bank digital currency in the world. China has been buying gold for years. China has been building the financial infrastructure of the post-dollar world for a decade. And America? America has no plan. America's plan is to bomb Iran and hope everything works out. That is not a plan, that is desperation. So let me leave you with this thought. The most important battle in this war is not being fought with missiles. It is not being fought with drones. It is not being fought in the Strait of Hormuz or in the skies over Tehran. The most important battle is being fought in the quiet offices of central banks around the world, where finance ministers are making phone calls, signing currency swap agreements, buying gold, and slowly, deliberately, moving their countries away from the dollar and toward a new financial future. That is the real war. And in that war, America is losing. Not because anyone defeated America, but because America is defeating itself. One bomb at a time, one sanction at a time, one frozen bank account at a time. The dollar was the most powerful weapon ever created, and America pointed that weapon at the world one too many times. And now the world is building a shield. Okay, I think that is enough for today. Was this interesting? Good. Was this clear? Good. I will see you in the next class.